Marvel's newest team of heroes, the Eternals, just came into theaters 2 days ago, so today I thought it was time for me to stop and review Marvel's Eternals. Please know that everything that I will say in this video is just my very own opinion. You're free to comment down below your very own opinion on Marvel's Eternals. Did you really love the film, or do you think that the low Rotten Tomatoes score of a 48% is valid for a film like this? Do you believe it should be higher? Say all of that down below in the comment section. Please don't forget to check out that Twitter that's going to pop up on your screen right now, and also don't forget to check out that Marvel playlist up above, and that link is always in the description. I went to go see this yesterday on Saturday with my buddies. Had a blast with the film. I can't wait to start talking about it. Come back in the next few days for some more Marvel rankings if you are interested. And with that being said, let's move right into our review.
We're Eternals. We came here 7,000 years ago to protect humans from the deviants.
Eternals was always a film that I was never really that excited for inside of Phase 4 as I was for Shang-Chi or for Black Widow. I only cared about the fact that the cast was diverse. I didn't really know much about the Eternals in general. I never read the comics. But the fact that the director is an Oscar-winning director, I had a little bit of high expectations going into it. And then we saw the Rotten Tomatoes score and then the reviews. And then my expectations got a little bit skewered. Well, walking out of Eternals, I gotta say, Rotten Tomatoes is wrong. Let's get right into the good. And the good thing that comes to mind here is that this is one of the most beautiful and delicate MCU films ever made. The energy, the aura that this film exudes just breathes epic and huge and big. The shots are huge in scale and actually looks good because it's practical location. When they're on a beach, I feel like they're on a beach. When they're standing on top of rocks, I feel like they're standing on top of rocks with many rocks behind them. When they're just in Babylon, I feel like they're in Babylon. When they're in an actual house, I feel like they are in an actual house. When they're in a field, I feel like they're in an actual field. It's all thanks to Chloe Zhao wanting to do practical location shot in practical places, and I love that about her direction. I have not seen any of her other past movies. This is the only Chloe Zhao movie I have seen, and I loved it. I had a blast with this film. The century-spanning story is large in scale. Now, granted, not everyone is going to love the story, as you can tell by the Rotten Tomatoes score, but I gotta say, that score just has nothing to do with this movie at all. That score is an exaggeration. Personally, I think people review bombed this movie because there are gay characters in there. The mythology this film oozes just makes me excited for the MCU, and it also makes me ask more questions about the MCU, and it answers some as well. All of it would never have worked if I didn't love these characters, though. Now, unlike some people, I'm not going to sit here and say each character gets equal screen time, each character gets an equal amount of development, and each character is fleshed out enough. No, that's not what I'm saying at all, because a lot of characters just sometimes come into the story. A lot of things happen to characters before we get to know them. It's hard to try to juggle this big century-spanning story with 10 main characters in the cast, and a lot of characters are going to get pushed to the back burner while a lot of them are going to come up in the forefront, and I think that they handled that a little bit better than I would have done. But also, I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't feel for those characters. I felt Phastos, I felt Thena, I felt Icarus and Cersei's relationship, their love, and her love for humanity and humans. Essentially, this film is about humanity and life and morality, and I like the fact that inside of the Eternals group, morality is not just good or bad. There's a gray area in there, and that's where most of them operate. They want to help, they want to intervene with the conflicts of humankind, but they also want to do their job and be able to go home. I think that all of that works together because the characters and their backstories are just so fascinating. To quote Jeremy Jahns, he said it better than I could ever say it, is that this film is essentially about humans at their worst isn't what they should be judged upon, because of the fact that the Eternals, they love these humans, they want to take care of these humans, they want to protect these humans, and even at their worst, that doesn't mean that humanity is doomed to hell. The mythology of Arishem, the Judge, and also the Celestials, a lot of people are not gonna like that stuff, but me personally, I had a blast with it. I was eating it up. The best thing about this film is the fact that they deconstruct these characters, these gods among men, essentially, and make them human and make them personal to give us a film that doesn't go high on spectacle at all. I mean, listen, in the final battle, we have a spectacle battle. We have that big CGI third act. There is CGI inside of this film. These characters' powers do not work without CGI. But whereas they could have went full on Space Odyssey, they went for more personal. And I really did like that. This film, out of any film inside of Phase 4, expands the MCU the most, giving us some more of the cosmic side and also expanding more of the cosmic side of the MCU. And I can't wait to see where these characters end up again. The showcase of everyone's powers and how different they are from each other, and how everyone's personalities are different from each other, and how they connect and their dynamics together. All of it worked for me. But no MCU film is without its negatives, and with a film like this that goes so ambitious, I think we gotta move on to the bad. And the bad thing that comes to mind here is that the MCU up to this point is too convoluted. We started off so grounded of a man trying to use his brain to escape a cave to save his life, to gods coming down to earth and celestials just beaming out of the sky and just standing up in space. In this film, we were introduced to 10 new characters, actually 11, and to me, they bit off a little bit more than they can chew. Not every character, like I said in the good, gets the appropriate screen time, and while I felt for them, it wasn't because of the character. The actor made me care. Because I really liked the actor, I really enjoyed their character. It wasn't because I really liked the character. The actor is what made the character likable for me, which is why I found their backstory so fascinating, because the cast is so likable. I love the diverseness in the cast. I love all of that. If I was just watching something and I didn't really like the actors or like the acting in it, I would not care for these characters at all. And it is very slow at times. I mean, in my opinion, I think that's actually kind of a positive. So it's kind of, this should go in like in the mixed category. So in the mixed category, kind of very slow at times. But going back to the bad, the villains are just, the villains are just, they just dropped the ball. They just dropped the ball on them. They just dropped the ball on the villains. Very cool villain idea. He comes into the movie like an hour and 30 minutes in, and then after that, he just leaves and never comes back into the third act, and then like just gets killed by that time. The villain sucks. Okay, the villain in this movie sucks. And a great villain idea, just down the drain. It would have related that villain to the heroes, and also with what we know about the villains, and also what we know about Arishem and what he did, and everything that we find out about the villains and also the Eternals inside of the film, relating them two together. That would have worked perfectly. They just dropped the ball. And to quote Jeremy Jahns again, it felt as though like this film did a lot of great work when it was something that wasn't dealing with the MCU. The greatest thing about this film, again, is that it feels distant from the MCU. It's nothing like we've seen before. But I definitely feel like some things inside of the MCU I have seen before inside of this film. And it felt like they went more personal for the first two acts. They didn't have big CGI battles. But then it's like, okay, now we got to get everybody's attention. Now we have to put in a big CGI third act. And that's the same thing that happened with Shang-Chi. And that's one of my big negatives with Shang-Chi, is the fact that the CGI battle at the end, that takes away from the hand-to-hand practical stunt work that we've seen for the first two acts of the film. So we have this personal story, but then now we got to get the audience attention with a big CGI third act. And that's something that the Marvel template has been doing for years. And judging by the Rotten Tomatoes score, people are getting sick of it. And me personally, I'm not saying that the MCU is bad. I'm just saying that it felt like, just like Jeremy Jahns said, so it's not me saying this, but I'm just quoting what he said, just like he said, because I agree with it, is that it feels like they wanted to do something different inside of the MCU, but they just could not break that formula that they have known for having in every film. And it felt like every time they were going to something different and something conceptually smart, it just had to sway the other way just to fit into that Marvel template. And while watching the film, you don't get that. But when you come back home and you sit down and think about it, and it marinates in your mind, you think about it harder and you realize that's true. In conclusion, Eternals is a beautiful, thematically rich, flawed MCU film. The showcase of each character and power set, and the way Chloe Zhao went personal and practical and huge in scale with the story and mythology, makes me want to see it all again on the big screen, and it deserves to be seen on the big screen. Thanks to the charming cast, the characters work, but unfortunately, the villains didn't, and they bit off more than they can chew with that third act. I loved all the themes inside of there. They just dropped the ball on too many things. I'm going to give Eternals a B. And I would say earlier I was feeling a 7.9. I'm feeling a little bit more generous. I'm going to give it an 8.3 out of 10. And I would say definitely see it on the big screen. I would say definitely see it in IMAX. I didn't get to see it in IMAX, but definitely see it in IMAX because I bet it's probably even better in IMAX. So go see this movie. Go support it. It's really good. Don't believe Rotten Tomatoes. Alright guys, that was it for my review. Please know that everything that I did say in this video was just my very own opinion, and you're free to comment down below. What did you think of Marvel's Eternals? Please don't forget to check out that Twitter that's going to pop up on your screen right now, and also don't forget to check out that Marvel playlist. Link is always in the description, and don't forget to come back in the next following days for some more Marvel rankings. With that being said, like, comment, and subscribe guys, and I will see you all next time. Peace.